He's very good at controlling his angles and controlling his speed.
And you could see the power in his arm just sort of lock and then load, and then that disc would just, like a cannon, just shoot back the other way and just go forever straight.
It seems like every putt in his prime was going into the basket.
Will is kind and generous and smart.
Will has the ability to really connect with a lot of people.
He loves to share his love of disc golf.
He's really someone I looked up to early on.
He's the best disc golfer I've ever seen.
Started playing disc golf end of 2005. I started playing with my dad and one of my best friends. We always played baseball and basketball growing up, and then I looked for something that was outside of those sports because going into middle school I didn't make the team for any of those, and I wanted to do something competitive and outdoors and something really fun that involves people and, competition.
Will started playing PDGA tournaments in 2006. He played over 30 tournaments that year, just a year after he started playing disc golf.
My high school actually allowed me to travel, and they excused the absences because I was a professional athlete. So I had a letter written in from the sponsors that I had at the time, and they actually excused the absences for me to be able to go to these tournaments.
Will played the Super 6 PDGA tournament in Georgia. He came close to winning amongst top players who would also compete in that year's USDGC. Will first noticed national attention in 2007 when he was the youngest person ever to compete at the USDGC at only 14 years old.
There's actually a little news article in the magazine that says Will Shoestrick next disc golf prodigy in 2007, which was kind of funny. You're just kind of out there playing and enjoying disc golf at the time. It's not like you're doing anything for fame or doing anything because you're getting paid to do it. You're just out there because you want to play and you love disc golf.
Will went on a full-time tour in 2011 after winning the USDGC in the previous year and graduating from high school.
I went on tour full-time, and I was gone from wherever I did live at the time for about 6 or 7 months, just traveling full-time. I went overseas to Japan, I went to Europe twice, traveled around Europe for over a month straight, played a couple tournaments there. And then I think by April or May of 2011, I was the #1 ranked player in the world. And so that would be when really my game took it to the next level. And so obviously that's a lot of time and effort and dedication to be able to just do that right there. And so it was nice just to get the fulfillment of getting that #1 ranking.
The USDGC, or the United States Disc Golf Championship, is the biggest event in disc golf and is held in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
In 2013, I was kind of looked at as a favorite coming in to win the tournament, being that I won the Memorial, and I think I won Beaver State Fling that year. So it's a lot different than 2010, 2014, just looking at it from that standpoint.
Hole 17 at Winthrop Disc Golf Course is one of the most brutal holes in the entire world. Tournaments can be won or lost on this fateful hole. The tee is 250 feet from the target. The target is on an out-of-bound island. To land safe, you must throw the disc over the hay bales, but avoid throwing the disc too far into the water. Going into the round, Will was trailing the lead by 4 strokes, but had tied the leader by the time the group had reached hole 17.
And of course, 17 being a difficult shot, you really just want to play safe to the right. And I remember just kind of in the back of my head, just play safe. I'm tied for the lead. I know that I can attack it on 18, then attack it on 17 and really lose a lot. So I had a late release, hit a little branch high, didn't get to the island to be safe. So of course it's immediate re-tee, and then I do the same thing, and then I just get it way safe inbounds, and at that point, of course, I'm kind of out of it. I dropped from being tied for first to 8th, which was a really big drop. It just shows that nothing is really handed to you. Even though I have the momentum coming in, and I'm kind of the favorite in 2013 to win the tournament, it's not really like given to you even on the hardest shots.
Johnny McRae was trailing the lead by 7 strokes after the first round, but had amassed his own lead of 4 strokes by the time the group had reached hole 17.
Get down. Go. Be enough. Be enough. Be enough. Go.
Okay. It doesn't matter. I still love you, Lord. I still love you.
Going into 17, because he was up by 6 or 5 or 6 at the time, so you don't really imagine somebody losing 6 strokes in 2 holes, although of course you know it can happen. Johnny was just playing so good going to that hole that, you know, you're just looking to get safe on 17, because that can really be a tournament destroy. I mean, you can destroy your whole tournament, as it did for Johnny. So going into that hole, you're not thinking like you still have a chance with 6 strokes. Like I wasn't thinking that there was a chance to win the USDGC at that point. And so I remember wanting to just keep it wide and keep it like a slow turn and let the disc do the work, besides just force it over and try to throw it over to the right. Of course it's for the win, so you're thinking that the whole time. You're thinking like, this is for the win. I mean, for 15 to 18 foot putt, whatever it was, I mean, you're looking straight up at the basket, and you have 1,000 people behind the basket too, so definitely got a little nerve-wracking, but missed that, of course.
After 4 rounds of 18 regulation holes, there's a 3-way tie between Will Schustrick, Paul McBeth, and Johnny McRae. The format is sudden death, so the first to acquire the lowest score on the hole wins the USDGC. On the first playoff hole, Will is putting for birdie and the win.
It really was like a replay. You know, you go to that hole or that spot and you're putting uphill, and it's not an easy putt because you're putting so far uphill, and you have even more people behind the basket at this point because it's a playoff. And of course the same thing happens. I know in any playoff, you're always going to go to the next hole. It's not like you're keeping score. So the next hole, you always have another opportunity just to take home the win. So it was a lot easier for me to roll that off and move to the next hole, because I knew that if I just focus and give myself the opportunity, I'm still have a chance to win, because it doesn't have to do with score.
After the first playoff hole, Johnny is eliminated from contention. Will and Paul go to the second playoff hole, playing for the prestigious U.S. title.
The round before, I chained out for ace, dead center. And so I knew the way that the disc was going to fly, and I had thrown it so many times before that I felt just really confident the way it was flying on that hole. So I felt good going to that hole because I just could hit that shot every single time.
Paul McBeth entered the event at a rating of 1050, officially the highest rating of all time.
And, you know, of course, he's one of the best putters out there, so you're thinking that no matter where it is, you have to assume he's going to make it. And just knowing that, assuming that I'm going to make it too, being from 15 feet. So, of course, I'm not thinking he's going to miss the putt by any means. So, and he barely missed it kind of on the right-hand side. Yeah, after that happens, it's kind of like, oh boy, so you better make this putt. It's a whirlwind of emotion at that point, because you know that's three U.S. titles, and something that I didn't consider, going into that tournament. I would say that I went from being the highest rated or ranked, and I was kind of like 10, 15 or something along those lines. So there wasn't a lot of people that counted me in to win the tournament, even though I had won it 2 times before. Yeah, and I think it does, if I had to learn anything from it or tell people about it, then I would tell them that, you don't ever listen to what somebody expects of you. You always want to expect the highest of you whenever you step on the disc golf course, whether, or anything in sports or life, I guess. And even if somebody expects you not to do well, you still have to have the confidence that you are going to do well and you are there to win. Whether you're the top player in the world and everybody expects you to win, you still should have the self-expectation of being able to do really well.
Will was diagnosed with a shoulder impingement in 2016, stemming from repetitive use of his shoulder from playing disc golf.
It's much more of a longevity issue. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight, and it can happen from a lot of different reasons, whether you're doing one thing so many times or whatever it is, but it typically shows up from playing and putting so much consistent usage on your shoulder is kind of like the definition of it. I didn't want to play as much, honestly. I mean, whenever you're injured, you don't want to go out there and just play over and over and over again. I mean, it's kind of demoralizing, I guess, a good word for it, because you don't like to not play well, especially when I was number 1 ranked, rated, winning USDGC, winning NTs, going out there and not coming close to barely cashing or not winning the smaller events. Like, it becomes demoralizing and kind of hard to deal with for a little bit. But I know that, of course, I love playing disc golf, and it's easy to get away from loving something or really loving to play if you drop down so far. And it's something like, did I love it because I was so good at it, or did I just love it because I like to play? And I got into it because I love to play, and then I kind of learned to love it because I was so good at it. And so I'm kind of mixing it a little bit more with how when I first got in with it. I love to play disc golf because I want to play disc golf, not necessarily because I'm just good at it all the time. I do think that I can get back to that level of being really good. The first step would be just to love playing it first.
Prodigy Disc launched in 2013, instantly becoming one of the premier disc golf companies.
So this new company that was coming out, their whole idea was paying players to throw their discs and promote their company, so obviously disc sales go up.
They signed the 12 top disc golfers in the world at the time, quickly helping them gain national attention.
You can imagine the amount of excitement that happened when those players announced they were changing over to this company that nobody had ever heard of before. Yeah, so I am the sales manager for Prodigy, which means that I kind of manage, we have 2-3 other sales guys, so I kind of help manage them and get more customers into our, of course, people who are selling our products, and then talk to the people who are selling our products and try to work with them, let them know of all the new releases. I help kind of schedule what we are doing and what we are releasing, when we are releasing it, and making sure we have the correct product information available. So videos, marketing, pictures, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, the goal with where I'm at now is to be able to make Prodigy as big as possible. And that, of course, is working with big box retailers, hopefully getting into some of those, being able to build disc golf worldwide. Like we did just open up a manufacturing facility overseas in China, which is our manufacturing facility. We're making discs there to better fulfill the Chinese market, which is going to be growing really, really fast, along with the Australian disc golf market, which is growing. And then we also have a whole group in Europe that is doing the same thing. So we're positioned globally to do some really big things for disc golf where it is growing the right way. And in the US, of course, it's the biggest market, so that's where we're looking to make the biggest impact. To say that I'm a 3-time U.S. champion, I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the entire world.